I've been silent enough. Coco Gauff fires back after Sabalenka's controversial remarks. For weeks, the whispers had grown louder, the kind that slithered through locker rooms, echo in corridors, and spark fires across social media. Tennis fans around the world could feel it. A storm was coming, and at the center of that storm stood two of the sport's fiercest competitors, Coco Gauff and Aryna Sabalenka. Their rivalry had always been intense, fierce, electrifying. But this time, it wasn't about a match, a trophy, or rankings. It was about respect. And Coco Gauff had reached her breaking point, the spark that lit the fire. It began after a tense semifinal clash, a battle that stretched past midnight, filled with momentum shifts and raw emotion. Gauff had powered through in 3 sets, using her intelligence and counterpunching brilliance to blunt Sabalenka's explosive aggression. At the press conference that followed, Sabalenka's frustration was still fresh, her breathing still uneven from the fight. A reporter asked a simple question. How do you evaluate Coco's game tonight? Sabalenka paused. Too long, just long enough for suspicion to settle. Then she said it. Something dismissive, something sharp, something that felt less like analysis and more like a jab, a remark that spread across the world in minutes. The headlines came instantly. Sabalenka questions Gauff's game. Tension boils over. Sabalenka says Gauff doesn't threaten me. Is this shade? Fans react to Sabalenka's words about Coco. Coco stayed silent at first, but not because she didn't care. She stayed silent because champions choose their moments. And when Coco finally decided to speak, she didn't raise her voice. She raised her truth. Coco's breaking point, and her breaking silence. 3 days later, Coco walked into her own press conference wearing a calm expression, the kind that hides the earthquake happening beneath. Cameras flashed. Reporters leaned in. Fans around the world watched live streams with breath held. Coco folded her hands on the table. And then she said the words that sent shockwaves through the tennis universe. I've been silent enough. The room froze. Clicking keyboard stopped. Air itself seemed to pause. Coco continued. I respect every player on tour. I always have, she said. But respect is a two-way street. And I'm done pretending I don't hear what's being said about me. Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't flinch. She was calm, dangerously calm. I compete hard. I work hard. And I deserve to stand here without being told I'm not a threat. If someone has something to say about my game, they can say it on the court. It wasn't anger that fueled her. It was truth. It was honesty sharpened by years of being underestimated, dismissed, poked at, and doubted. And now Coco Gauff was done swallowing it, rewinding the rivalry, a story written in fire. To understand the force of Coco's words, one must understand the history behind them. Gauff and Sabalenka have been on a collision course for years, contrasting personalities, contrasting styles, contrasting energies. Sabalenka, all raw power and explosive fury. Gauff, all intelligence, poise, and emotional control. Their matches were never ordinary. They were battles, gladiatorial, consuming, unforgettable. The 2023 U.S. Open Final. Coco's breakthrough. She beat Sabalenka in a dramatic, emotional match that became the turning point of her career. The rematches that followed. Sabalenka struck back in other tournaments, pounding winners, roaring after every point. Coco countered with resilient strategy and relentless defense. Their rivalry wasn't just tennis. It was psychological warfare. And this year, things had only grown more heated. Sabalenka's comments were simply the spark that exposed the tension simmering beneath. The media frenzy, fueling the fire. Within hours of Coco's statement, the world erupted. Sports panels debated. Former players weighed in. Fans picked sides like this was a battlefield. Some praised Coco. She needed to say this. She's matured into a leader. She's standing up for herself in a sport that often silences young voices. Others defended Sabalenka. She was emotional. She didn't mean it. She's always been blunt. Why is this different? But the truth was simple. This wasn't about Sabalenka alone. Coco was addressing years of subtle slights, coded language, and dismissal she'd endured since she was a teenager under the global spotlight. Coco Gauff had spent years being gracious. Now she was being honest. The backstory behind Coco's resolve. Coco's confidence wasn't born overnight. It was forged in losses, forged in pressure, forged in expectations the world threw on her at age 15. She had learned to keep her head down, to smile politely, to drown out noise. But this season, something shifted within her. She wasn't a teenage prodigy anymore. She wasn't the kid who shocked Venus Williams. She wasn't the underdog. She was a champion, a leader, a voice. And champions don't stay silent forever. I don't need anyone's approval to validate my game, Coco said in the interview. The results speak for themselves. Inside the locker room, the whisper becomes roar. Players talked. Some were stunned. Some were impressed. Some whispered that Coco saying something so direct was long overdue. One player reportedly said, "She finally said what we were all thinking." Others felt Sabalenka's comments were blown out of proportion. But one thing was clear. Coco's words had changed the energy of the entire tournament. There was electricity, tension, momentum, and one unavoidable truth. A rematch between Gauff and Sabalenka now carried the weight of a rivalry reborn. The training sessions after the storm, after the press conference, Coco returned to the practice courts. But she wasn't angry. She was focused. Her strokes were crisper, her footwork sharper, her mindset locked in. Her coach watched her and said quietly, "She's playing with purpose now." Purpose was Coco's weapon. Purpose is what turns emotion into excellence. Purpose is what separates great athletes from legends. Sabalenka trained too, smashing balls with fury, fueled by headlines and criticism and the desire to reclaim control of the narrative. The stage was set, not just for a match, for a showdown. Coco's reflection. Why she finally spoke. What Gauff stand really means. Coco's statement wasn't about drama. It wasn't about Sabalenka. It was about evolution. She wasn't a quiet teenager anymore. She wasn't a polite newcomer. She wasn't a nice girl expected to swallow every insult. She was a champion redefining what it means to lead. Leadership is not silence. Leadership is courage. Leadership is truth spoken even when it shakes the room. In that moment, Coco Gauff proved something profound. A champion isn't someone who wins quietly. A champion is someone who knows when to speak loudly. The legacy of her words. Years from now, fans will remember her victories. They'll remember her comebacks. They'll remember her battles with Sabalenka. But they will also remember this moment, the moment Coco Gauff chose her voice over her fear. "I've been silent enough," she said. And with those 5 words, she didn't just fire back. She set a new standard. She drew a boundary. She claimed her space. And she reminded the world, respect isn't requested. It's earned. But once earned, it must never be denied. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Till next time.